to Bear Lifestyle, the podcast where we talk about taboo topics to make them normal and acceptable. I'm your host, Simona Spark, and I'm so happy that you are here. We are about to get naked by stripping away insecurities, judgments, and all kinds of limitations to reveal the essence of who we really are, Bear. Bold, authentic, radical, express. Let's go. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to Bear Lifestyle. Let's start with celebrations as we usually do. I'm celebrating myself, I'm celebrating you, and everyone who listens and watches this. Cheers, cheers. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. I really appreciate you. If this is the first time that you land here, welcome, welcome. I really appreciate you and thank you for finding us. In today's podcast, I do want to have a conversation about safety and specifically about safety in the relationship. So we are going to go to the beginning of the relationship in a dating space. Yes. For the past couple of episodes, I talk about, how to be honest and transparent in our profile, dating profiles, how to ask for what we want and declare what is it that we do not want. And from the beginning of this podcast, we touch on quite a few times on boundaries. So for the past week, I have a few conversations in this dating space, and I want to acknowledge why do we behave how we behave, why are we afraid to show up fully, authentically, why we are afraid of saying the goddamn thing, right? It's a matter of safety. Well, it's a matter of many things, but let's look at safety, right? And it is my hope and my desire that this perspective is going to land well for you and is going to help you clarify some fears or unnecessary fears and solidify some new boundaries for yourself and help you move forward in your communication with your partners, potential partners, longtime partners. It really applies to any point in the relationship. But I like to talk about for the beginning, like in a dating space, because it's so much power in that, to how you set the stage, right? And that is the space and the moment where we doom our relationship. And how we do that? Very simple. We don't say the things because we are not feeling safe to say the things, because we don't know this man. He's a stranger. How can I trust him with something vulnerable about myself, right? So then what do? I'm gonna wait until we're gonna date. I'm gonna tell him this on a second date or third date or after we move in together. Pay attention to those. Pay attention to the steps that you have learned about how the relationship should develop. Do you ever hear yourself saying, oh, it's too soon for that? Whatever that is. It's too soon to talk about sex. It's too soon to tell him about my kinks. It's too soon to have a conversation about whatever. How many times you tell yourself it's too soon? So if you did that at least once, I want to invite you to consider, at least for the time of this conversation, that there is no such a thing too soon. By the time that you decide that is the right moment, air quotes here, right moment to share whatever you didn't because you thought it's too soon. This moment, when you consider is the right moment, it might be too late. So now take a moment of radical honesty and look back in your previous relationships and acknowledge the pieces that you have not shared, thinking that it's too soon, and the time that you thought that it's right to share, they did not land well. I know I have done that, and I see people doing that all the time. And look, I'm not here to say what's the right way to do it, but I am here to offer this option that, by the way, I actually apply it. If you know me at all, you know that I don't say anything that I haven't taken myself through the process first or experienced it first. I've tried it for the past 3 years or so, just being in this dating space, and it works. And this is how it works. When you say the thing and you do the thing, when it feels that you want to say it and you want to do it, regardless if it's the first phone call, first date, or whatever, like without the judgment of when this should happen, two things are happening. All the time, there are two options, no matter what. He will stay or he will go. It is that simple. And you know what? Both options are amazing. Why is that? Because if I'm with a man that could hold me through my vulnerability at the beginning of our relationship, I mean, we don't even have a relationship. It's the first date, right? Let's take that example. Because that's what people is like, oh, it's too soon to talk about whatever, because it's just the first date. If that man could hold me into that vulnerability, chances are there's going to be a second date. If that man could not hold me in my vulnerability, I'm still celebrating it because, you know, that's not a match. So I don't want to waste his time, and I don't want him to waste my time. But what's the alternative? The alternative is what I've been doing all my life. And if you're anything like me, probably you've done it too. I'm just going to play nice and cute based on what I assume that this man in front of me wants to hear. I'm just going to make myself cute and sweet and interesting and whatever. Why? So he will like me. And you know what? That might work. Actually, most of the time works. And here you are, you're dating the man. It's day number 7, 8, 20 months later, moving in. And guess what? You no longer pretend, and you show up in your own vulnerability. You know, for a moment, you slip, and that man freaks out. And it's telling you, you're not the woman that I've been dating. You're not the woman that I married years later, right? And he's right for 2 reasons. One, because I didn't show him my true face for the beginning. And second, I also evolved, changed, and transformed throughout the time that we already spent together. And that's a separate conversation. That's a separate podcast, right? So let's circle back to the beginning, right? Because I do want to invite you to really look into your personal boundaries, dating. And I'm talking, you know, dating a man because I'm a woman and that's who I date mostly. But this really applies for all genders, all sexual orientation, like no matter what. So I want to invite you to look into your personal boundaries, and even deeper than that, look into your non-negotiables. Like make a list. Make a list. You know me with the list. Make a list. Like, what is it that I do not tolerate in a relationship? What is it that I do not tolerate as far as how I'm being treated by a man, right? What do I don't like? Like, really make all those no's. Like, no, 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 no. And then ask yourself, am I willing to express those to my date? Or am I willing to let that man talk me into breaking my own non-negotiable, breaking my own boundaries, right? For example, I have men that was like, we have such a good time. I can't wait to see you again. Great. Who doesn't want to hear that, right? Fantastic. Check and check. But then he goes, let's meet up today. And I say, I'm not available. My schedule is full. But I really want to, but I really this, really that, and start like talking me into it. And I'm like, I appreciate all that, and that makes me feel really good. But today is not the day. So watch what's happening there, because I have both situations. I have men who was like, keep insisting. So in other words, he doesn't give a shit about my boundaries, or he learned that you should insist because you're supposed to fight for her. She wanted the man to fight for her, So that's another conversation. Again, I don't want to sidetrack too much or go too deep into those sidetracks. So let's get back to insisting of seeing you, right? So when keep insisting to actually say, I already said no twice. Like for me, that's a flag. For me, it's like, I'm done. You have no respect for my boundaries. You don't listen. You don't hear me. You don't care. So I don't feel like you fight for me. I feel like you're pushing me. And then there is the other option, or the other man that insisted once and just want to, let me know how much he wants to see me. But then he understands and he respects that I'm busy or I'm not available. Saying, well, wishing you an amazing day. Let me know when I could see you next. And keep in mind that I'm over here wanting you and whatnot and whatnot. Like, yeah, I like that. And if you're a man listening to this, you might want to look into how you approach, how you insist, how you court someone, right? It doesn't matter if you're dating a man or a woman. It's like, how do you let them know you want to really see them when they told you that they're not available, right? So point being, like insisting and insisting and insisting, and for me personal, it's a signal of not respecting my time, my space, my boundary, what am I saying? So that's why I say it's such a powerful space to set our boundaries, to say what we want to say, to tell what we want to tell for the beginning in a dating space. Not only that, teach the other person, how in general things works, because, every situation is specific and it's unique. But most importantly, every time you do so, you gain power and you redefine it for yourself. Once again, what is it that you want? How do you want it? When do you want it? Who do you want it with? Because you know what? You get to decide on all of that. So now I do want to drag attention to the main reason why people, I don't care, men or women, do not say no. They do not say no because they're afraid they're going to lose that person. Now, hear me out. Please hear me out. That extraordinary man that you just met, and you are willing to break your boundaries just to meet him because you're afraid that you're going to lose him, that's not the only extraordinary man on this planet. There is a whole nother million or millions of extraordinary men out there. So if you are afraid that you're going to lose this man and this is the end of it, then my girlfriend, you have work to do. You have work to do to clean up your fears, your limitations, your trauma, your pain, your insecurities, whatever it is. This is not a judgment. This is an invitation to do the inner work. So you could be so solid in yourself, and you could be so solid in your happiness and in your self-love that you do not need a man. You don't need a man. You don't. You just want a man. It's totally different energy, right? And it's so much freedom into just going out there and taking a stand and advocate for yourself, trusting, believing, and actually knowing that, hey, if this is the one, he's going to stick around. If it's not, great. I want him to go away so I could have that space available for the one that could take my no, that could respect my boundaries, that could respect my time and my availability. Don't you want that? I mean, that's key, right? If you could hold my no, that let me know about your own security. So I hope this give you a different perspective, or at least drag the attention to this little parts, little components for you to look at, and just get honest with yourself, like where in a dating space I'm not advocating for myself. What are my non-negotiables? So again, first of all, you need to know who they are. You need to know your boundaries. So if you don't, let's get on that first. And then to really get honest with yourself and see where do you break them, and for what are you willing to break them, and for who. And then even a layer deeper, why do you do that? What are you afraid of? Again, it's a matter of safety. You are not feeling safe with yourself. You are probably not feeling safe to be by yourself. So you are willing to compromise. I know we talked about compromising last week. So if you haven't listened to that podcast, I will invite you to go and give it a go. That's where we compromise. We compromise because we are not feeling safe. We are not feeling safe with the person, with our future, with ourselves, just name it. And it's for you to identify where are you not feeling safe, and to watch yourself how you behave with that. And if you need any support with that, you know where to find me. Best way to contact me directly is on Instagram at simonasparkworld. Or if you are willing to dive deep into really identify where are your boundaries and how do you break them and why, and how to not break them anymore, you could always book a 90 minutes call with me. I put the link in the show notes. It's under Spark Your Inner Fire. So check that out if that's the right space for you to be supported. Something else come up. I don't know how that tied into this, but it come up. So I'm just going to go ahead with it. I often hear people talking about their type, right? Like, what's your type? Or I've been even told, you are my type. And until not long ago, that it felt very good. But these days, that for me, it's a red flag. If a man come to me and say, you are my type, I'm just like, I'm not having it. Let me explain this, because I said that to a couple of people and really threw them off, and they want to debate, but I'm not sitting for any debates. I'm very solid into who I am and what I want, and I no longer sit around to explain, to justify, or to convince someone that that's how I feel and that's what I want, right? So why do I say that somebody that is looking for a type, it's a red flag for me? Because it feels very limited. It feels very limited. And I'm not placing any judgment of saying, oh, the other person, has a limited view on a partner, even though I think that, yes, I do think that, I admit. But for both parts, it's limited. Why? Because if I submit to that, like I'm somebody's type, it's like I'm making a decision to be that person, which what that does subconsciously will not let me grow, or won't let me be, I don't know, wild and crazy, right? Because it might not be his type. So again, I'm afraid that I'm going to lose him and this is not going to work. So I'm not feeling safe to be myself or to expand and grow and develop of becoming somebody else every day, every month, every year, because it might not fit with his type where we start this. Are you following? And same goes for the other person. If this man is telling me that I'm his type, he's also restricting his own evolution or his own, mind opening to allow his woman to grow and evolve and be crazy and wild and see how that it's impacting him and ultimately the whole relationship to be allowed to grow and evolve and expand instead of staying into a type, a very linear, like very dependent with no room for growth. So that is my explanation behind the I'm not doing types. And I'm telling you from my own experience, and I see others too, when you put yourself out there with an open mind and a clear intention of connecting with the right person, I'm not talking with the right type, with the right person, you might be surprised. Because you know what, if you're really holding on a type, it has to be dark hair and blue eyes and this type of body and this height and whatever the shit, right? We all been doing that at some point, at least once. There is no space for surprise. There is no space for spontaneity. So then what's left? It's just boring. Linear is boring. I want excitement. I want passion. I want to be surprised, right? Like I didn't do all this work on myself to just go back and dating the same man that I did date 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Like, no, those types are gone. I don't have a type. I don't have a type. I no longer believe in types. I let go of types. I am open to meet someone that is like real, that his authenticity will match my authenticity. His craziness will match my wildness, or whatever that might be for you, that goes beyond predefined types. Even to the point, if let's say that that's the only way that you could envision, right? I believe in visualization, and I visualize myself with this future partner. And I kind of see some of him, his physique, if you wish, but not fully, which is very interesting because not too long ago, I was like clear about all those details. But now I'm not seeing it fully. In my visualization, my dreams, my desire, I'm more likely, I'm like feeling his energy and feeling how having this man next to me make me feel, right? So there is no type. And you know how I know it? Because as I go and as I evolve, that feeling change. So again, if a type is something that's a concept that works for you, I want to invite you to allow that type to evolve, right? So if you're consciously working on yourself and you someone like me that intentional about healing and growing and expanding and exploring, then that type will evolve as well. And you will notice that the man that you dream about a month ago is not the same man that you're dreaming about today. And no other better evidence than just looking into who you are dating And the men are you are dating, are they all the same or they're changing from a date to date? Just something to put out there. Sidetrack or maybe not. So that's what I have for today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time to join me in this conversation. And please let me know what come up for you. What are the spaces you're not feeling safe? And as always, I want to invite you to let me know what are the topics that you would like to have a conversation about. So I will see you next week. Until then, go ahead and have a bear experience and an amazing week. Ciao. And this is where we landed. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And if you enjoyed the show, make sure you leave me a review to let me know. For more bear experiences, please go to simonaspark.com/bear and follow us on Instagram at simonasparkworld. I can't wait to have you back. Until then, be bear, bold, authentic, radical, expressed. See you next time.